Hello and welcome to the OnlyBets Sports Podcast. On your Monday, we're going to have Drew recap our NCAA tournament bets. Think they did pretty well overall. Coming off a really good weekend. Excited to get into it. Hey Drew, how you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. Kansas lost, but at least the buzzer beater prop hit. But yeah,
Yeah, we all mentioned that in the chat at the same time. We were like, pluses and minuses. Although I will say that my bracket would have been really destroyed if Kansas had won St. John's there. What was your biggest surprise over the weekend? Obviously, round 1 and 2 of March Madness just finished. We're waiting for the next round coming on Thursday, but there was a lot of exciting upsets. High Point over Wisconsin, that was crazy. Yeah, what are the big ones that kind of stood out to you?
yeah. So there's been a lot of I've noticed favorites and chalk this tournament, but I know there's no more perfect brackets now because especially the Virginia loss for a lot of people, and I think this is actually the biggest upset. I predicted this team that they would cover, and I even said it in our chat too. Like, hey, Iowa's a scrappy team, man. Like they can cover this. I wouldn't, possibly touch it. And then Iowa beating Florida, which was a lot of people's favorites to go far. That was to me like even bigger than the High Point one. I know that sounds crazy to say, but Florida was like this juggernaut. Iowa was like the same kind of underdogs as High Point was against Wisconsin. Um, and Iowa beat them, outplayed them. They played their pace. And now we're going to see a great game in Iowa versus Nebraska. That's a big rivalry if people don't know. But yeah, that was one of my takeaways. I can say my other takeaways if you have something on that game.
No, go for it, man. I'm excited. I did not have either of them getting this far in the tournament, so I guess I don't really care who wins, but I'm going to take a look at it from a betting angle.
Oh yeah, definitely. Personally, another takeaway is I know I called out. I liked Alabama a lot in our chat, and Alabama just absolutely demolished Texas Tech. I did not expect that demolition. You could see Texas Tech. Yes, they did great against Akron, but you could see them missing JT Toppin against a more inferior team. That it's hard when Alabama hits their threes; they're unstoppable. I love this Alabama team. This Alabama Michigan game coming up is going to be fun to watch, and it's going to be very high scoring, and there's a lot of threes put up. But yeah, some other takeaways: UConn is back to their normal form. Of course, they do better against non-conference, so watch out for them as well. And then another takeaway from this weekend is hey, Utah State fought against Arizona, and I was very impressed with it. I know if you did Arizona minus 11.5, Arizona had a crazy backdoor cover. Shout out to them. And then the thing I'll say again about High Point, hey man, something about High Point, man, like they played Arkansas tough too. They covered in both their games. They're, I think, the third highest mid-major program when it comes to NIL money, and they have a guy on their team who's really good, Rob Martin. So yeah, just a lot of. I noticed there was a lot of chalk of winning, but there also was a lot of underdogs that were covering too in the betting wise. So. But overall, though, another year with no perfect brackets, I believe, especially with that. Iowa win and stuff like that. And I'm looking forward to the matchups on Thursday. I actually do have a women's college basketball bet today that starts in 25 minutes. But yeah,
Why don't
that's
you
probably
hit
my
us with
only bet.
that right now so that we can,
Yeah,
so if anyone's listening at least live, they can get that in, including
yeah,
myself.
yeah, definitely. Because I was looking at the women's slate. I pay attention to women's courts not as much as men's, but I have other friends that like women's, and I talk to them, and I of course will investigate the field. And something I will say is also this: it's not UConn, but this UConn team is absolutely insane. So if you see their big spreads at 35.5 like they are, guys, don't think to take the other side because this UConn team is probably going to win it all. I don't see anybody beating them. But besides that, though, we have Alabama at Louisville. Louisville is minus 8.5. I think minus 110 on DK. On Fanatics, it's minus 105. I think Louisville is just overall the better team personally than Alabama. They have been the whole year. Louisville almost actually, I think, won against Duke in the SEC and the ACC tournament. And this team, they've just been rolling. I think they have too much firepower. Alabama's good defense. I just don't think Alabama can keep up with Louisville. So I would gladly take the 8.5 for minus 8.5 Louisville right now. The over under is at 133.5, which is about average for a women's game. So I think it's 4 10-minute quarters for women's basketball. But yeah, give me Louisville minus 8.5.
All right, I can dig it. I'm playing it right now. Just a half unit because I'm not as familiar with, I guess, women's basketball. I did watch a little bit of it, especially when Caitlin Clark was in it last year. That was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to watching. I'll put it on the TV in about a half an hour, or I guess whenever we get off the show. Do you have any leans coming up for the next round in the men's
Yeah.
March Madness?
For sure. And also, guys, by the way, Iowa's back to being really good again in the women's side, which is good to see. Um, I think they're playing Virginia today, so that wouldn't be a bad game to watch. If you guys want to watch a dominant team, this UConn team reminds me of the team that couldn't stop losing. If you want to watch it, they play at 6 p.m. Eastern. They have WNBA talent everywhere. They went undefeated in the regular season. So let me go to the men's side. When I was like looking at it, right, um, my favorite game that I'm going to want to watch, and I know this sounds crazy to say because there's St. John's, Duke, Alabama, Michigan. There's Illinois, Houston, which is going to be a juggernaut match. But Iowa, Nebraska, man, this is a big, big rivalry. Like Iowa has owned this rivalry in all of sports, right? Whether it's like wrestling, basketball, football, and but Nebraska, when they beat Iowa at their home and it went to overtime. That was the first time I think they beat them in a sport in like 12 straight times. So, and this Nebraska game, I'm going to say this right now. It's going to be again mainly Nebraska fans, I believe, because Nebraska fans have been waiting this their whole lives. I know Iowa fans are big fans, but these Cornhusker fans, we saw in Oklahoma City against Vanderbilt. They're really big. They're really big about their team. I am one of the biggest fans of Bennett Sturts in Iowa. I love Bennett Sturts in Iowa, and they're a gritty team. But I think Nebraska can match their style well. The first game between these two at Iowa, Nebraska could have easily won, and the second game they kind of blew the lead, but then they won in overtime. So I like Nebraska here as my early lean. I think they're minus 130 on the money line, or it's minus 1.5 on the spread. So that's one of them that I like. I have a couple more leans, but let me know what you think of that.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. Iowa's been competitive, but I mean, the way Nebraska's been playing, I mean, granted, they're not foolproof. Again, I didn't think either of these teams were getting through, but I think that's a really good look. And at minus 125 on the money line or minus 110 on the minus 1.5, I think that's pretty good value.
Yeah, for sure. And this is going to be, and also I'll say this, don't be surprised if that under hits. I think it's like 133.5. Both teams do play relatively slow. Nebraska can turn up the tempo when they want to. Um, but I think this will be a very gritty game. So I'm not going to touch the total in that because I would have touched the total if it was like 140. But that's two looking good for me, because both these I think games were in the 60s in regulation, the first two. So um, another game that I am looking forward to as well is Illinois Houston. I'm also a big fan of this Illinois team, but I'm also a fan of Houston as well, especially with their head coach Sampson. I think this could be their year with Florida being out now. Personally, I forgot who I picked in this my bracket, but when it comes to betting wise, uh, I really like still Houston here. I think Houston is minus 2.5. I can see Illinois gaining some steam too. But I just think overall, these are just leans, of course. So I'm not going to make them official because I think lines will move and stuff, and I think I can get better lines. So these are just leans to the listeners. I'm not going to just place it right away, but the Nebraska one I like. I would say probably right away because I could see Nebraska possibly gaining steam. But Houston, I just think they'll overpower them with their defense. I know Illinois has big size, but so does Houston. Houston's very long, very good defensively, and this is the best offense Samson has had at Houston. It's not the quite the Houston defense we're used to, but they still have a really good defense at the end of the day. And yes, I know Illinois' offense has been humming, but they're susceptible, uh, especially in March, to having offensive lulls. So I really like I like Houston here, but I can see Illinois gaining some steam as well, just for how they've been playing.
Yeah, I like that. I actually had two model plays that I'm on. The first one is in the Arkansas Arizona game where I took the under 166 and a half. And then the second one was in this Illinois Houston game, which is why I'm bringing it up at the over 139 and a half. I think it's just too low. Model really, really, really has a huge edge on the over here.
Yeah. Both teams, it's kind of funny because you see Illinois score a lot of points and then their tempo is like really like low. Like they're a slow tempo team, but the problem is the most efficient offense in the country, even though they're a slow tempo team. So I kind of like that. I can see both team reaching the 70s in this. I can honestly see an 80 something to 70 something game. And then the other games, personally, I'm still looking at the Alabama Michigan game. What I like in that, and the Michigan State Connecticut game is going to be an interesting game because I like both those teams. And then the Tennessee Iowa State game, I'm kind of leaning Iowa State. And then I don't really want to touch the Texas Purdue game. Arkansas, Arizona, I'm looking at. And then, yeah. So those are the only two that I have leans on right now. But there's certain games I'm looking at that I'm not going to probably touch. Like the St. John's Duke, I'm probably not going to touch. I just want to enjoy. And then the Texas Purdue, I don't trust either of those teams to cover or not. And both teams have been looking pretty good this tournament. But yeah, that's my overall takeaway for the Sweet 16.
Yeah, my most exciting game to watch out for is the St. John's Duke game. Duke is not as dominant as maybe their numbers suggest, and St. John's is playing really good basketball right now. That's going to be a great game. All right, what about today? Now, I live across the street from St. Joe's University, okay? So I've been following them. I talk with a lot of the students there when I go to the college bar. They're very excited. They're doing pretty well. They're facing New Mexico today, and the spread is plus 11 and a half. Do you have any thoughts on that before I give out my lean?
Oh, so that game's tomorrow, I believe.
Oh,
Um,
shoot, you're right.
yeah, yeah, but no, but I do like that you mentioned that. So yeah, and it's kind of crazy what we're seeing tomorrow with the NIT. We're actually seeing in conference people playing tomorrow. Like we're seeing Wichita State and Tulsa. They're both in the same conference, and last time they played, I believe Wichita State ended up winning. But St. Joseph's versus New Mexico. Yeah, St. Joe's has been doing really well. I believe they're in the A10. I believe A10 conference with like St. Louis and VCU. And the New Mexico is a really good team. The problem is they're giving New Mexico a lot of love because they believe New Mexico is the better team and they played in the better conference. St. Joseph's had a really good win against Cal. I was very impressed with that. But the problem is that there is home court advantage here, and which I like that the NIT does that, but they're playing at the Pit. The Pit is a hard place to play. It hasn't been as hard this year, but they've showed how hard it has been during this NIT. So I don't necessarily have a lean of covering when it comes to this, but personally, I would not mind the under in that. New Mexico is a great defensive team. St. Joe's is a good defensive team, and when you play in the Pit, it's hard to get points. And if I had one kind of lean, it would be the under. I know 11 and a half seems like a lot, but New Mexico has a capability, especially in their crazy home environment, to blow out teams.
That's a really good look. The under was actually the second highest rated play on the model. The plus 11 and a half was the first. So I just went with the first. I don't take every play on the model, but I usually take the top two or three picks every single given day. So yeah, I'm going to be giving a half unit on the plus 11 and a half, but the under definitely in play as well. And again, like I said, it's the second highest rated play on my model. All right. Anything else in college basketball before we move on to the NBA?
Yeah, so there's a game on Wednesday that I'm looking at for the NIT. Dayton has been rolling. I've been praising this Dayton team. So what I'm going to look at is when it comes out, it hasn't come out, is because their spread is 5.5. I'm going to look what their halftime full time is, and I think it's at Dayton as well. So I really like Dayton in this spot. So I'm gonna wait to see when the line comes out, though.
All right. Yeah, we've talked about Dayton a lot. That's going to be a good one as well. Yeah, the further we get and the more experience that we have, the more the NIT conference and tournament really starts to shine a light on what is possible in some good games. Just because they're in the lower tier doesn't
You
mean
can see these
anything.
teams care. They care.
Yeah. Yes, they do. I think that there was some doubt in that a few years ago. Now I don't think there's any doubt. They're playing to win. Um, all right, let's get to the NBA here. I want to give this out before I forget. Prince sent in his picks last night. He links a 4-leg money line parlay featuring the Magic, Hawks, Rockets, and Raptors. And the note that he left for me here was all 4 teams that they're playing against are incentivized to lose. So if we look at it, the Indiana Pacers incentivized to lose against the Magic. The Hawks, right? They're playing. Who are they playing? Memphis. All right, cool. I can dig that as well. That's a good leg. Rockets are playing Chicago. Have not been competitive lately. And lastly, the Raptors are playing Utah. Who, yeah, they're also in Fade City, losing the last 4 of their last 5. I looked at that game actually personally. You can get that money line parlay at -125. And I'm just gonna say this. I hope Prince doesn't yell at me later. You could probably throw in OKC to get that juice down another 15 cents. They're playing Philadelphia, and Philadelphia has not been competitive. And even if they are competitive, I don't expect them to win in any which way, shape, or form. They're just in, they've been playing better as of late, but they're not in the same level as OKC. I went in a different direction here. I took San Antonio Spurs against Miami. I'm laying the 4.5 on the road here. Miami is a decent team. They're really good, but I don't think they're going to be able to guard Wemby. And the Spurs have quietly now are 3rd ranked in defensive efficiency here in the NBA. Their offense is top of the league. They're in another level. I've been watching Wemby and the Spurs just dominate games in, day out, and I link them to really kind of get the win here. It didn't work out a few days ago against Phoenix, but I think that they get a massive win here on the road. And again, I just don't see Miami being able to guard Wemby. I think that's what it comes down to. And the fact that the Spurs defense is also really good will just likely shut down the Heat altogether. Drew, do you have any thoughts on this game?
No, but I definitely agree with you on that. I do have some games I was looking at though, but yeah, I like what you said about the Wemby factor.
Yeah, I was slightly worried. Last night, I was seeing the line anywhere from 4.5 to 7.5. This morning, the line came down to 4.5 again, but now the line is moving back up to plus 5.5 on FanDuel. And if you're looking at maybe the sharp books, FanDuel is really where you want to look. The other books take a lot of public money, and they'll move the lines accordingly. FanDuel, I've noticed, does this a lot less than the others. So if you see FanDuel going from -4.5 to -5.5, that is a good sign, and that's made me feel more comfortable in the late line movement from last night to today. So definitely interested to see where the line ends up before game time. But just for yourselves, if you're watching and listening right now, take a look at FanDuel and then take a look at the other books second, because again, I think that FanDuel is the sharpest lines out there. Give me a lean, give me an over under, give me anything. You don't have to if you don't have anything,
Oh
but
yeah.
what were you looking at?
So I'm since I had a really good day yesterday in betting, I might stick with the just like of course the Louisville thing right now, but some leans that I'm looking at. Um Something I'll recommend, guys. I think this Pistons thing is an overreaction 101. I know the Lakers are on a big winning streak, but I'm going to say this right now. I don't think the Pistons will be plus money for long. I
Oh
think
my
people
God,
are
they are.
noticing.
You
Yeah,
can
I
get
don't
plus
think
two and a
people.
half on the spread. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
So it's funny on Fanatics, it went from plus 110 to just plus 105. Now it's still plus 110 on DK. I am going to say this right now. People are noticing this line in the morning, and I guarantee you, I may be wrong. I'm not, of course, guaranteeing, but I bet you that the Pistons will be minus money by the time this game starts. I can see how the line is moving right now, and I can definitely see it because if you look at like because it shows a lot of money is going on the Lakers, right? But it's slowly, going up to the Pistons. So I would not be surprised if it goes back to minus money for the Pistons because like I said, I think there's overreaction 101 with the K thing. Yes, the Lakers are like on a 7 or 8 game win streak, but since K left, I don't think the Pistons have lost. You know, and the Pistons are home. They're still a gritty, really good team. They have multiple options that can score. And yes, the Lakers are a really good team, but their defense is terrible. And they're traveling to the Pistons, at the end of the day. Like they're traveling to Detroit. So I just don't understand this. And I know it could be Vegas saying they're trying to bait us, but I do like the Pistons here. And if you like the Pistons, I would take the line now because I don't see the Pistons moving up more.
My model likes this play. I like it a lot too. Yeah, I'm in on it. I'm gonna put a little bit just to sprinkle. Sometimes I'll put a core unit just to track plays to see how right we are. I'm not even gonna take the spread. I'm just gonna go on the plus 110 right now.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
there's value there. All right, cool.
And
I
there
love
was one more lean that I was looking at, but I'm probably not going to do. I'll probably just I'll probably just see if I'm going to possibly live bet it. But the Hawks Grizzlies game, I was looking at it. I feel like that total's too high, especially for a Hawks team that's in the playoff hunt. And the Grizzlies, yes, they can score points. We saw them beat the Nuggets a few games ago, which was very surprising. But the Hawks are going. I mean, the Nuggets are going at the Hawks. Hawks are playing really good defense. Like I don't see how the Grizzlies, reach 100 points. Like even if they reach 105, like a 135 to 105 game hits. So that was one of my leans, but I'm gonna have to think about that one. I'll let you know if I do.
Yeah, please do. I do appreciate your leans. You're fairly sharp individual.
I'm surprised. I'm sure Grizzlies management was upset they beat the Nuggets, but yeah.
Can't be too careful now with the commissioner looking on. All right, let's move on to the NHL where we have just one game to break down today, and that's going to be the Ottawa Senators versus the New York Rangers. Do you have any thoughts on this game before I get into my pick?
Yeah, so if I had to make a pick personally, um, it would probably be the Senators. The juice is it's a quite a bit of juice. So yeah, that's the part that kind of like scares me about it is how much the juice is, and then I haven't checked the 6 minute money line, but overall, I lean the Senators in this spot.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. I'm going to take the other side though, just on a value basis, just pure value. All right. You can look at this line at plus 160 on the money line for the Rangers. They sat their starting goalie yesterday. So a fully rested Igor Shesterkin. Now that's going to be a huge difference. He hasn't been as good as normally, but he is still considered one of the more elite goalies in the league. And Ottawa's missing Jake Sanderson, which severely downgrades their defensive capabilities. I think Senators are rightful favorites. My model has this pegged at a 46% win percentage or winning chance, I guess, for the Rangers, which would put this line roughly according to like minus 130, minus 120 ish, right? Plus 120, plus 130 on the other side. I have to do the exact calculations. I have a little bit of calculator here that helps me with all that stuff. But yeah, I think the public is very much heavily over betting the Senators side. They had a day of rest yesterday while the Rangers did not, right? Which is usually a big deal. But when your goalie rests, they're clearly looking forward to this game and putting all their effort on their home turf against the Senators. But again, the public is seeing one team, the Senators, above 500, and that's won the last four of their last 5 games. The Rangers are under 500. They've lost the last 4 of their 5 games. But again, the model says too much value has moved. So I'm going to take the plus 160 for a half a unit here. It's just too big. It's just too much. It's wrong. I will definitely look to hedge live and that way hopefully win either way. Do you have any thoughts on my take here?
Yeah, definitely. I like it's kind of like what I said. Like I lean the Senators, of course, but then minus 192 seems like too much. I think that's the better value. What you said with the plus 160, because even the Senators 60-minute money line isn't like I know minus 120 is a decent sweet spot, but that's still like overinflated for a 60-minute money line. So I think the fact that I know the Rangers playing back to back, they're getting the goalie back and they're home. And plus one, it's like I said, I think Senators are being overvalued here. If I saw the Senators at minus 130, I'd be probably willing to take it, but this is too
Sure.
suspicious for me.
Yeah, sure. I wrote that in my write up actually in my premium articles last night. I said that listen, if the price was better, I'd be on the Senators. Everybody would. Rangers are not that great, but you're going to give me plus 160. I'll sprinkle a little bit on that, especially when so much of the public is going to be on the Senators, no matter what. That's why it's being priced out of, it's being priced this way. All right, let's move on to the MLB. I finally have my first MLB props for the season, and I'm very excited. I don't have anything for this Thursday's game, Yankees Giants, just yet. Very excited to do a showdown with you, Drew, because I'm going to assume that you're going to be taking the Giants side. I'm definitely going to be taking the Yankees side. But let's start off with a strikeout leader prop. Now, this is all very dependent on Paul Skeens and Tariq Skubal. But if they don't win it, I kind of like Hunter Brown to continue his breakout season. Last year, he finished 8th in strikeouts for a total of 206. Now he is the unquestioned number one in Houston. And at plus 4,000 with 3 years of steadily increasing pitches, and his stuff is just nasty and getting better. I like a little sprinkle here. I put a quarter unit on him. Plus 4,000 is a really solid payout for someone who should be in the top 5 finishing for this coming year. Any thoughts on there?
Yep. No, yeah, I like what you said there. Of course, who led the NL in strikeouts last year? Oh yeah, Mr. Logan Webb. I was kidding. He's my, of course, he's my guy. Some of the strikeout props that I do like, I'm glad you mentioned those. I like on DK, you can do like 190 plus strikeouts, and stuff like that, right? And then you can parlay them too as well. That's something I'm gonna mess around with, which is really cool if you go to like pitch refusers and strikeouts, right? But I like that because I know Garrett Crochet led all of major leagues last year. I think he was the AL. It's funny, the top two were in the AL. It was like Garrett Crochet and Scooble. So I'm gonna look around that. But I'm also going to fiddle around with like the 220 plus strikeout market, like in like the 190 and see what I can parlay for good value.
Yeah, I like that. I did look at Scooble actually trying to get like 160 plus strikeouts, but DK wasn't even offering it. They're like, no, we're not stupid. We're not going to put that line out.
Yeah. Oh, there was one sleeper though that I saw, I will say, because I know you, of course, know do you remember Chase Burns they limited last year,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Yeah, with the Reds, because he was only like 20 years old. I think they might, so I'm gonna try to do more research on him as it gets closer, but I think they might unleash him for a whole season, possibly, because his 160 plus strikeouts is minus 115. So I think that's Vegas saying they don't know if they're going to let him pitch the whole season. But this guy, when he pitched, he averaged like almost like 10 Ks per game when he did pitch. So that's something interesting. If I get more information on that, like looking online to see if they're going to let him pitch like half the season or the full season, I think that can be very good value.
It might be. The line was too far gone for me by the time that I looked at him, and the volatility is a little bit concerning to me. But plus 2,200, that's too much. That's too much excitement for someone who's an unproven entity for a full year. For me, my perspective at least. Someone like Hunter Brown is a proven entity, getting better, and is the unquestioned ace of that staff. The Reds have Hunter Green. They have other pitchers that they can rely on in the big games that they're likely to place above Chase Burns. But you're not wrong that Chase Burns as a prospect is just phenomenal and possibly a little bit scary going forward. He could have a breakout year. Wouldn't be surprised by it, but the value at plus 2,200 just that doesn't do it for me. That doesn't move the needle.
Oh yeah, what I was saying is I liked his the 160 plus strikeouts, regular
Oh,
season
sure.
strikeouts. That's
Sure. If you can get plus money at something like that, I think that's a good
it's
value.
minus 115 for that right now for him. So I'm gonna see if they're gonna pitch him for a season. Yeah, I agree with you though, not for the whole season. To get those strikeout totals. Of course, one of the to the listeners, of course, one of the biggest things is, you need to pray for health because, DK and, these sports books, they show no mercy for health. So if a pitcher gets hurt or something, the prop's going to, of course, be lost. So make sure, of course, when you're betting it, of course, that as well. But it's frustrating, but it happens. But these props are very good value sometimes because sometimes, like for example, I'm pretty sure Stern Logan Webb to lead. I think the NO and like strikeouts or something last year was like plus 3,000 or something. It was something ridiculous.
Yeah, getting the underdogs in markets like these tend to work out or at least have a better chance than you think because of injuries. It happens every single year. And if we're talking about injuries for this year, I mean, you have to talk about the fact that you have four major starters that are not going to be starting the season. And I'm including Garrett Cole kind of in that because he's coming back, but I mean, you're missing so much talent from the pitch, from four major teams that it's going to be really hard to make that up from them. Also look for possible replacements for them because that could be very interesting. But yeah, the Phillies, what are they going to do without Zach Wheeler? Pablo Lopez is out, Corbin Burns. Like you got a lot of big name pitchers that are out of the calculus for who can win these awards. So something also to keep in mind. You know what? Let's just walk right into my next take for AL Cy Young Award. Now, I did just say that underdogs have good chances because of injuries and whatnot, but I wanted to bet on another proven entity, and that's Tariq Skubal. Plus 350 for him to win the AL Cy Young Award just seems too low for me. I know that's crazy because that's such a hard award to win, but he's in a contract year. And the only real competition from my perspective is Garrett Crochet, who, granted, is phenomenal. But if you're talking about proven entities, Scooble is by far a more proven entity out there. There is nobody who is more of a proven entity than him. Sorry for saving proven entity too many times. But I think he's by far the most dominant pitcher. His underlying metrics are pretty much far beyond anybody else in the AL, at least. Give me Tariq Skubal at plus 350. I think that's phenomenal value. I put a half unit on this. Got
Oh,
any
I
thoughts
love
here?
that. Yeah, I love that a lot. Like with the Tariq Skubal, you're definitely right about that. I actually have a sleeper home run leader pick if you want to hear it.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so this is of course the listener's value. I'm not saying this, just value wise, right? Because of course you have Judge at plus 350, Short at plus 400. But you know what? I like this value with Junior Caminero plus 2,500. We saw this guy his rookie year hit like 40 something home runs, and he's only like I think 22 years old. He has massive power and he's still learning. And we saw him hit multiple home runs in the WC. So I think that's a great sleeper pick. I can see him possibly. I know it's hard to do other than like Schwarber, Judge, and Shohei, and I think Cal Raleigh degresses a lot. And this year, I don't see him getting 60 home runs again. And the other people ahead of them are Nick Kurtz, who of course was a rookie last year, Pete Alonso, and Juan Soto. But I think they're disrespecting Junior here because the dude did have like 47 home runs last year. So I like that.
I don't mind that at all. And funny you mentioned Cal Raleigh. I kind of like his season total under 39 and a half.
I do too.
Not going to play it because that scares the hell out of me, but a catcher being able to keep that level of production up. I mean, if he's able to do it, he will immediately transform his name into a household name if it isn't already, to being a once in a generation type of talent for being able to do that. I don't even know if it's a once in a generation, once in a lifetime. Like I cannot like Yogi Berra. Mike Piazza was sort of there, but he wasn't at the same level. This is a special dude, and that's kind of why I laid
Johnny
off
Bench.
fading him. Johnny Bench. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good name too.
Oh, Salvador
Um,
Perez had the record before he had it with 48. I remember, and then he digressed. Like he just went down the next year. I think Salvador Perez is a future Hall of Famer. I'm respecting him, of course, but I know he had like 48 home runs one year, and then the
yeah,
next year, which is it's just it
it's
takes a lot
hard.
out of you.
It takes a lot out of you. Being a catcher in the Major League Baseball, especially in the era where we have an expanded schedule, is just so darn hard. They're playing so many games back to back to back, and yeah, they have rest. He plays DH, but it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. All right, let me get to my last take here. This is a stolen base leader prop. Now, the market's essentially saying this is between two people. Ellie De La Cruz and Chandler Simpson. If you haven't heard of Chandler Simpson yet, if you were to go back to MLB The Show or MVP Baseball 2004 and you were to create a custom player and move the prop for speed all the way to the right to 99, this is the dude. In a shortened season, in just 109 games, he was tied for second with 44 stolen bases. All right. He is very fully expected to play a full season this year, and he has a great uh, presence at the plate. He's patient. He has good. He has good opportunities. He just knocks the ball. He doesn't have a ton of power. He just gets to first base a lot. And again, like I said, he's in the 99th percentile for sprint speed. And on a team that is aggressive like the Tampa Bay Rays, I love this play. Plus 450 was way too low for me to not sprinkle on this. Yeah, give me that for a half unit at plus 450. I think this is just incredible value. I love Ellie De La Cruz. Plus 300 offers no value. Um, and he could sometimes struggle with consistency. Chandler Simpson is a beast on the bases, and I love this prop so much. This was actually mm, probably my favorite prop. It's hard to compete with Tariq Skubal, but this is going to be one that I'm watching. Got any thoughts?
Yeah, I love Chandler Simpson. I loved him when he was in the minors too, like coming out of the minors, going to their hey, I love we're giving Rays respect, Junior Caminero and Chandler. But yeah, Chandler, if you guys haven't watched him, he has something called stupid speed. He's like I'm not saying he's the same player as this person, R.I.P. Ricky Henderson, but he has Ricky Henderson speed. Of course, Ricky Henderson's one of the greatest ever. But I'm just talking about when it comes to speed, he reminds me of Ricky, in that way. Like this guy is ridiculous. Like he will it's crazy because these infielders, like he has the ultimate weapon. Like, yes, he doesn't hit for power as much, but he can hit for contact really well and get the ball in play. He scares the crap out of like infielders. Even if you play close to him and he hits the ground, like he has the best jump out of home plate I've seen since Ricky Henderson. He's just insane.
He is one of the most exciting players to watch when he's on the field. He just is. It's not dissimilar to Ellie De La Cruz, where you're just watching for explosive plays all the time, right? I mean, obviously, Ellie De La Cruz is the favorite here. We are taking the second runner up to that, but you're right. Chandler Simpson, watching him on the base pass is just another thing, and he does make infielders nervous. I'm very excited to watch him, and he's in division with the Yankees, so I'll get to watch him plenty. All right. Anything else you wanted to get to today?
No, but I will agree with you. Elliot DeGruz is a freak of nature. He does it with his long strides, and it's crazy. Chandler Simpson just has, he's a little. I mean, most people are shorter than Elliot DeGruz in baseball.
Everybody is shorter
Yeah,
than
yeah,
him.
yeah. But Chandler Simpson is just his feet are ridiculous, and Elliot DeCruz is a freak of nature. That's the way to put it. But nothing else for me.
All right. Let's recap our best bets and get on out of here for our Monday.
Yeah, my best bet of the day is this game's going on right now. It's Louisville minus 8.5. The game is currently 6-6 right now. So, yep, that's my best bet.
Cool. In the NHL, I'm on the New York Rangers for a money line sprinkle at a half a unit plus 160. In the NBA, I have the Spurs minus 4.5 at minus 120. And then I have three preseason MLB futures: strikeout leader Hunter Brown plus 4,000, stolen base leader Chandler Simpson, and then AL Cy Young Award goes to Tariq Skubal. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch that race as well. Cannot wait for the baseball season to start this Thursday. Hopefully, I'm working on my website that broke on the off season when I was making some updates. So hopefully, I get that going again. I had a lot of success last year with my baseball articles, and very much looking forward to diving in deep once more. Yeah, well, that's going to be it for me, SternBets and Drew DeLucci. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please like us on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube, anywhere you can get your podcast. You can find us. Thank you guys, and have a wonderful week. We're going to have a great day. See you soon.